The War Council of the Galactic Accord was a spectacle of despair. Holographic star maps glimmered with a creeping corrosive red stain, the advance of the Xylothi Devourer swarm. Admiral Cathan of the Velm, a being of crystalline elegance, gestured with a limb of shimmering facets. Their bioships consume matter for fuel and replication. Our energy weapons are merely digested. Our kinetic projectiles are absorbed to strengthen their chitinous armor. We have lost 17 systems. Our current doctrines are obsolete. Across the vast chamber, a different kind of presence stood. Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots, his blue and red armor reflecting the grim lights. Beside him, Major Anya Sharma of the United Earth Defense Force, her posture rigid in her olive-green fatigues, a stark contrast to the alien grandeur around them. They were the newest, and in the eyes of many, the most primitive members of the Accord. The strategies of organics and mechanoids have failed separately. Optimus's voice rumbled, a bass note of conviction. Perhaps a fusion, a new paradigm is required. Not merely Autobots and humans fighting side by side, but fighting as one. Anya stepped forward, the eyes of ancient species upon her. The Accord relies on fleet engagements and static planetary defenses. The Xylothi thrive on that predictability. Humanity proposes something different, chaotic entropy. We don't fight the wave, we become the rocks that shatter it into useless spray. The concept was met with skeptical silence. Then Cathan pulsed with faint derision. Chaos is not a doctrine. It is a state of failure. It is if you can't control it, Anya countered, a hard smile on her lips. But we can, and they can't. She nodded to Optimus. The first field test was on the mining world of Jericho 3. A Xylothi tendril, a dozen bulbous bioships, descended towards the planet's main processing hub. Standard Accord protocol would have been to mass shield generators and form a defensive fleet line. What the Xylothi sensors detected instead was puzzling. No energy shield signatures, minimal power readings from the facility, and small sporadic chemically propelled projectiles arcing uselessly from the surface. Deeming the world undefended, the bioships entered low orbit, extending fleshy proboscises to begin consumption. That was the moment chaos was weaponized. From beneath artificial rock formations and buried in ore piles, Autobots erupted, not in their full, towering glory, but in their vehicle forms, massive Earth vehicles. A crimson and blue freightliner. Optimus Prime led a charge of military vehicles that seemed to drive straight up the mountainous terrain. Autobots, transform and adapt! The command was not for a uniform shift, but a staggered, unpredictable one. As the bioships swiveled to target these new, confusing signatures, the rocks on the ground moved. Human Special Forces teams, clad in powered armor, had been camouflaged alongside the transforming metal. They didn't fire at the ships. They fired grappling lines and magnetic anchors, latching onto the lower hulls of the bioships as they descended. "Bumblebee, evasive pattern Delta!" Anya's voice crackled over a secure, localized channel. The small yellow Autobot transformed from his scout car mode, not to stand and shoot, but to sprint in a zigzag, drawing fire while his human cargo, a team of engineers, clung to his back. They were hurled, via Bumblebee's calculated spin, onto the leg of a bioship. The Xylothi were bewildered. Their prey was not running or forming orderly lines. It was swarming them, climbing them, using physical contact, a tactic the galaxy had abandoned millennia ago. Inside the bioships, human and Cybertronian teams met. The humans, small and agile, planted shaped plasma charges on neural ganglia and nutrient conduits, targets identified in real time by Autobots, scanning with deep penetration sensors. The Autobots provided brute force, ripping open armored flesh hatches, creating corridors of destruction. Anya, riding on Ironhide's roof as he blasted a path, coordinated the bedlam. "Ratchet, your sector is clear. Fall back to Grid 7. Jazz, draw that harvester to the canyon edge. Arcee has the trap set." It was not one battle, but 100 savage intimate brawls happening simultaneously on and around the bioships. When the charges detonated, it was not from a single powerful external blast. The xylothy tendril writhed and died, crashing to the barren plains. The facility stood untouched. Back on the War Council, the hologram replayed the engagement. The silence was profound. Catharan's crystalline form flickered. "It is inelegant, brutal. It is victory," Optimus stated. "We have given them a problem they cannot solve with consumption. We are not a meal to be eaten. We are a poison, a virus of chaos, and we have just infected their strategy." Anya looked at the stunned alien admirals. This was just the prototype. The joint doctrine hasn't even begun. The victory at Jericho 3 was a spark, but the Devourer swarm was a vast, adaptive darkness, it learned. On the ocean world of Thalassa, the swarm altered its approach, sending smaller, faster Krake bioforms that moved beneath the waves, targeting submerged geothermal energy taps. Standard bombardment was impossible without destroying the infrastructure. The Accord fleet hovered impotently above the storm-racked seas. The Odyssey, Earth's first deep space carrier, hung in high orbit. In its main hangar, a symphony of controlled bedlam unfolded. Major Anya Sharma stood before a holographic tank showing the roiling Thalassan Sea, dotted with hostile signals. Beside her, Optimus Prime, his gaze fixed on the data stream. "The Krake are fast and the environment is corrosive," Anya said. "Our powered armor can't handle the pressure at their operating depths. Your standard frames aren't much better." Optimus nodded. "Then we do not meet them on their terms. We change the terms. We must become something new. Not human, not Cybertronian." A third thing, this was the birth of the symbiosis protocols. In the hangar, technicians and Cybertronian engineers worked in tandem. They weren't just repairing, they were grafting. Bumblebee watched as his alt mode, a compact Earth sports car, was fitted with hydrodynamic panels and a pressurized crew capsule designed for 2 humans. It was no longer a simple disguise. It was an integrated weapons platform. Elsewhere, Ratchet the medic oversaw the modification of human deep-sea diving suits, massive mechanical exoskeletons. "The armor is a titanium Cybertronian alloy weave," he explained to the pilot, Sergeant Kaito Tanaka. "The muscle fibers are synthetic, based on my own transformation actuators. You will be stronger than 10 organics, but you must move with the suit, not against it. Think of it as becoming a minicon." On the surface of Thalassa, aboard floating platforms lashed by rain, the new doctrine faced its trial. The Krake rose from the deep, slick black carapaces gleaming, maws filled with grinding teeth. They moved with terrifying, serpentine grace. "Symbiosis teams, deploy!" Anya's order was calm. From the platforms, what looked like bulky submersibles slid into the violent water. Inside the lead craft, Anya was strapped into a command couch, her neural interface helmet linking her directly to the vessel's systems, which were, in essence, Bumblebee. "Neural handshake is green," she reported, her voice echoing slightly in B's cabin. "I have tactical overlay. B, you have propulsion and primary weapon control. Ready, Major. Let's show them how Earth fishes." Bumblebee's voice was a cheerful warble through the speakers. They submerged. The world became a dark, pressurized nightmare. On her display, Anya saw the Krakens as swirling red ghosts. Bumblebee's sensors painted the world in sonar and gravimetric pulses. A Krake shot towards them, more gaping. Anya's instincts flared. She thought of an evasive maneuver, a sharp roll and ascent. Before she could speak, Bumblebee executed it perfectly, the submersible body responding as if it were her own. He had anticipated her neural impulse. "Now B," she yelled. Bumblebee fired not a torpedo, but a net of monofilament wires, forged from his own transformed components. The Krake entangled itself, thrashing. From another vector, a hulking form descended. It was Sergeant Tanaka in the modified exosuit, moving with surprising speed. He landed on the Crake's back and with a roar of hydraulics and synthetic muscle plunged a massive vibroblade into a neural node, the targeting data fed to his visor directly from Ratchet on the surface. The battle was a fusion of scale and intellect. The human Cybertronian pairs were not just fighting together, they were thinking as a single unit. The humans provided instinctive, adaptive, tactical creativity. The Chaos, the Autobots provided the processing power, sensor fusion, and physical might to execute those instincts with perfect precision. A Crake would target a submersible only to be ambushed by a nimble exosuit. An exosuit would be cornered only to be shielded by a submersible transforming briefly to robot mode to unleash a point-blank torrent of fire. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Optimus observed the telemetry, a sense of profound affirmation filling him. This was more than an alliance, it was an evolution. Cathan, linked via hologram, watched the Crake signals blink out one by one. The synergy, it is unprecedented. Their loss rate is 3%. Ours in similar engagements was 78%. They are no longer two species fighting, Optimus said, his optics bright. They are a new weapon, one the Devourers cannot comprehend, for it is born of trust. Below, in the dark ocean, Anya and Bumblebee surfaced near a platform. As the hatch opened, she ripped off her helmet, breathing in the salty air. She patted the hull of the submersible. "Good job, Bee." The submersible's front lights flashed in a happy pattern. "You thought it, I did it. Easy." She smiled. The chaos was now a conversation. A very effective one. The swarm's core was a nightmare-made flesh, a planet-sized entity known as the Maw, drifting in a nebula of its own waste. It was the ultimate expression of consumption, surrounded by a protective shell of 1,000 sacrificed bioships, hardened into a barrier of organic armor and energy-dispersing nodes. Accord fleet attacks shattered against it like light on a black hole. The Maw was slowly moving towards the heart of the Accord, a final unstoppable digestion. The War Council had convened for what many felt was a funeral. "Our combined fleets cannot penetrate the barrier," Cathan stated, his light dim. "The energy output required is greater than a star. The Maw is the end of our civilization." In the solemn silence, Optimus Prime and Major Anya Sharma entered. They wore the grime and minor scars of 100 symbiosis deployments. "You are correct, Admiral," Anya said, her voice cutting the gloom. "Your fleets cannot. A single massive energy signature is what the Maw is designed to absorb. It is the ultimate predictable foe." Optimus stepped forward, projecting a new schematic. It showed the Mars barrier, but instead of one massive beam, thousands of tiny simultaneous points of impact were highlighted. The symbiosis teams have shown that the swarm fails against coordinated chaos on a tactical scale. We propose to escalate, to apply chaotic entropy at a strategic level. The plan was audacious to the point of insanity. Every remaining Autobot and every available human special forces operator would form one vast, interconnected symbiosis team. They would not attack the barrier as a wall, they would infect it like a virus. The Odyssey became the nerve center. In its hold, Anya stood before the assembled teams, human and Cybertronian, on monitors and in person. "Forget the war," she told them. "Today, we are surgeons. That thing out there is a tumor. We are going to perform 1,000 tiny, precise incisions all at once to kill it." Optimus addressed his kind. "Today, we do not fight for Cybertron or for Earth. We fight for the light of sentience itself. We are the scalpel. Be precise, be brave." The operation began not with a war cry, but with a silent dispersal. Hundreds of small craft, each a symbiosis pair, shot towards the monolithic barrier. They looked like gnats approaching a continent. The Maw, sensing only negligible energy signatures, ignored them. Anya was with Optimus, not in a cockpit, but in a neural link chamber aboard the Odyssey. She was wired into a system that connected her to every team leader. Optimus was processing the global data stream, his mind the supercomputer coordinating the chaos. "Team 1, you are in position. Team 5, adjust vector by point 3. Anya murmured, her consciousness dancing across 1,000 feeds. On the barrier, the Nats landed. Human soldiers, in heavily modified exosuits, disembarked from their Cybertronian partners. Using tools that were part Autobot technology, they began cutting, not with brute force, but with resonant frequencies that matched the barrier's organic inertial harmonics. They planted microcharges developed from studying swarm biology. The Autobots provided cover, their weapons set to precise, low-yield pulses to clear defensive microorganisms, their bodies acting as shields against corrosive sprays. It was painstaking, desperate work. A team was lost when a barrier node convulsed, swallowing them. Anya felt their biosigns vanish from her network, a sharp pain in her mind. She didn't pause. Team 20, fill that gap. Jazz, provide cover. Optimus's voice was a steady rumble in her ear, in her mind. The pattern is holding, Anya. The Maw is detecting the incisions, but it cannot identify a primary threat. Its responses are local, confused. Across the vast surface, a constellation of tiny wounds was being opened. This was the critical moment. All teams, fall back to extraction points, Anya ordered. The humans scrambled back into their Cybertronian partners, who transformed and pushed away from the barrier. Now, alone on the Odyssey bridge, Optimus Prime triggered the sequence. The thousands of microcharges detonated in a perfectly synchronized nanosecond pulse. Not an explosion of force, but a wave of disruptive resonance that raced through the interconnected barrier tissue. The effect was not a blast, but a disintegration. The continental armor cracked, not into large chunks, but into a fine grey dust, evaporating into the void. The path to the Maw's pulsing malignant core was open, but it was already reacting, regenerating, sending out waves of hunter-seeker bioships from its surface. Now! Anya yelled. From behind the Odyssey, the entire remaining Accord fleet, held in reserve, surged forward, but they did not fire. Instead, they parted, and through them came Optimus Prime, transformed into his vehicle mode, moving at speeds that strained his frame. He was not alone. Slotted around him, locked into a precise formation, were every one of the Symbiosis Autobots. With their human partners inside, they had formed a single colossal spearhead, a bolt of living metal and unwavering will. "This is for every world you consumed," Optimus's voice broadcast on all channels. The Symbiosis spear pierced the Maw's inner defenses, their combined fire clearing a path. They aimed not for a weak spot, but for the central neural plexus, a target identified by correlating 1,000,000 scraps of data from every previous engagement. They hit it. Optimus transformed in mid-flight, landing with a world-shattering impact on the organic cortex. Around him, the other Autobots landed, forming a perimeter. Human soldiers disembarked, planting the final ultimate charges. A matrix of Cybertronian energon cores and human antimatter triggers, a fusion of their world's most destructive energies, directly into the heart of the horror. As the countdown commenced, the extraction shuttles scooped up the teams. The last shuttle hovered for Optimus and Anya. Prime. "Anya! Now!" Jazz's voice screamed over the comm. Optimus looked at Anya. There was no fear. "Go," he said. She shook her head, standing beside him. "We started this together. We finish it together." With a nod, Optimus transformed around her, not into a truck, but into a protective armored shell, encasing her completely. His thrusters fired not towards the shuttle, but straight up, punching through the Maw's flesh as the countdown hit 0. The explosion did not flash. It unmade. The Maw and the surrounding fleet of bioships simply ceased to be, turned into harmless particles. The Odyssey's bridge cheered. Carthan watched, his crystalline form radiating a colour never seen before by his species, the hue of humble awe. In the debris field, a battered, scorched form tumbled. A rescue team found Optimus Prime, his armour cracked and steaming. His chest plate opened slowly. Anya Sharma stumbled out, coughing but unharmed. She placed a hand on his faceplate. On the War Council, the Doctrine had a new name. They called it the Prime Protocol. But for those who had lived it, it had a simpler name: trust. It was the story of how two species, one of flesh, one of metal, looked into the abyss of oblivion and chose not to stand side by side as separate entities, but to merge their hands into a single, unbreakable fist. And in doing so, they did not just win a war. They redefined the meaning of strength for a galaxy that had forgotten that the most powerful force in the universe is not destruction, but connection.